Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you, Impact Leaders Connect, for the opportunity to be here. I'm at DeHart. I am right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. For those that know where Pittsburgh is in the United States, I'm in the Northeast, but I'm originally from South Carolina, which is in the southern part of the United States, where is actually where my journey starts. In a small school, in a place where no one thought anything great could happen. And so I'm going to share my screen and share with you guys my story about how this came to be and how the Teach from DeHart Foundation and subsequent academy became a thing. So as you see, this is our logo. Our logo is very intentional. When this logo was developed, it was created because when I walked into the classroom my first day of school, I walked in with a tie and a suit on, and the principal of my school said, "Oh, you're dressed up for the first day. That's real cute." And I said, "What do you mean dressed up for the first day?" "Well, you're wearing a tie on the first day." I said, "Am I not supposed to wear a tie every day? I thought I was supposed to dress like a professional." And my principal proceeded to tell me, "Oh, it'll wear off. Don't worry about that." But my father told me when I was a child that if you want to be treated like a CEO, you have to dress like a CEO. If you want to be treated a certain way, you need to present yourself a certain way. And he said, if you want that respect in your classroom, you need to dress like the respect you want. And so I wore a tie every single day, and I still do to this day when I teach with my students. And the reason why we have this heart in the logo is my name is DeHart. So I say instead of teach from the heart, teach from DeHart. It's a play off my last name. And the idea of the tie symbolizes the professionalism that not only that I want to emulate for my students, but I want my students to emulate back to me. And so this all started in South Carolina when I was teaching at a school that was considered unsatisfactory by the state. The state government was coming in to fix the school because the scores were so low and things were not doing well. This is an actual photo from my first year. Those are all the copies I was told that had to be made every single day. And these copies were made because we were told students need to be constantly hit with book work. They need to get their academics together, get their academics together. And I realized that the students in my classroom, I taught 52 students my first year. I realized very quickly they didn't need to get their academics together. They had enough going on in their life that their academics didn't really matter at the time. And I needed to take care of their soul. I needed to take care of their heart. And so I started to tell other teachers in the building how I wanted to engage their minds, tell them they can change the world. And I wanted to do all these activities and games and make sure that school was fun and enjoyable, but we were learning at the same time. And I was told that I needed to learn how to teach first. Then I could do all the other stuff later. But I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't going to be the educator I thought I was going to be. And I was basically told that my first year was going to be a waste of time. That those 52 students I taught were not going to get a good education because I was a first-year teacher. And I refused to accept that. And I turned and I used that as motivation to build a climate in my classroom that would be engaging, welcoming, with high expectations and high standards. And we started to see a shift in the school. But when you start to create a shift, especially in an organization that's already established, you start to create, for lack of a better term, people who don't exactly like you that much. Please comment in the chat if you've ever experienced that. You've created a shift and then other people become jealous. Please comment if you felt that, because I know as a leader in any situation, when you go out and you create a difference, you're going to face those jealous people. And they started to try to tear me down. We even had our first round of test scores come through, and we were significantly higher than the rest of the school. And I was told, don't expect it to happen again. I was told, don't expect your students to do well again. That won't happen. And I turned to the people in the room, and I think I blew their minds. I said, no, not only will they do better, but they will be proficient on the next round of testing. And I walked out of the room, and I walked into my classroom to the group of students that I had, and I said, you will achieve. This is what they believe you can't do. This is what I believe you can do. I want to tell you a story about a student very special to me. If you look to the left of the screen, this student's name is Ethan. When Ethan came into my classroom, I was told again by those jealous educators, I was told that This student will do nothing for you. He is mute. He is autistic. He will not be able to do anything, so just pass him along. Don't expect him to talk to you. Don't expect him to participate. I refuse to accept that out of Ethan. Every day I would greet Ethan at the door. I would shake his hand. I would make him have eye contact with me, and I would show him that I cared over and over and over. And then one day, about 3 months into the year, I hear some creeping steps as I'm getting my school day ready in the morning. And I turn around, and Ethan's wearing that outfit. Ethan went home the night before and said, "Mom, I want to dress like Mr. DeHart. I want to dress just like him." And so we went to the dollar store and bought fake glasses. That tie, that shirt, and those pants that he's wearing, those were his father's, who had passed away from an overdose a couple of years earlier. And those shoes he was wearing were his nice shoes, but they had holes in the bottom of them. But those were his nice shoes. And he showed up dressed like Mr. DeHart. And then at the middle of the day, I was so excited. The students were excited. He looked great. And in the middle of the day, he stands on his chair in the middle of class and says, "I declare every Wednesday DeHart Wednesday." And I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Guys in ties, girls in pearls." I said, "Okay, sounds great." The picture to your right is the following Wednesday. In the next week, all of 5th grade was dressed up, guys in ties, girls in nice attire. And for the first time, these students felt like they were a part of something greater, that school mattered to them. And when we went back with those test scores, we made a 50 percentile jump, had the highest scores in the entire district. These students changed their world because they needed someone to change their world and tell them that academics is a key piece, but their heart needed to be touched. So we take that into, sadly, COVID. COVID hits, we don't get a chance. Our goal was to make 100% pass rate on the state exams, but we didn't get a chance to. The following year, I had a new group of students, and we had to figure out how we were going to inspire these students to get them to believe in themselves after 6 months of being off school. And I remembered a quote by Steve Jobs about the crazy ones. The ones who are crazy enough to believe they can change the world are the ones who do. And I had taken that through college, through my first year of teaching, and into my second year of teaching, I shared that quote with these students. And I said, "We are crazy enough to believe," and they chanted, "We can change the world." And we chanted that every single day. These students ended up having the highest test scores in the entire district. And their scores were so high, and all the different extracurriculars we were doing, I was taking them on trips in the weekends with my wife, and we were traveling and getting a chance to show these students not only how to live life in an academic sense, but how to tip at a restaurant, how to dine at a restaurant, how to order properly, how to attend a sporting event properly, how to face your fears. They convinced me to go on a zip line. I am petrified of heights. But you know what? I stood in front of those students and they said, "You have to do it. You said we have to face our fears." And I was like, ah. I was very frustrated for a moment, but then I faced my fears with them. We were taking these students and word spread. And it spread so far that the lieutenant governor of the state of South Carolina, which is like the vice president of the state, reached out to me and said, "I want to invite your students to meet me, to tour the State House and be honored at the State House for your accomplishments." That group of students you see right there were the only students in the entire state that were invited to the State House that year. The only students, because they believed they could change the world. And these trips and this curriculum of high expectations started to develop. You see my two buddies, Brooks and Jackson. They were the first two students I took on a pod trip with my wife. We would go out and take them out to eat. We're sitting there laughing because I could never get them to smile. So I had to make a joke so they would smile in a photo. But this was the first time that these students had ever gone out without their parents. I remember the student in the green looked at me when his time to order. I said, "Oh no, I'm not your mom. If you're not going to order, you're not going to eat." And he went, And he ordered his food for the first time. These students had not experienced life outside of their small town. They didn't know what it was like, that there was a whole world out there for the taking. And at the end of the year, I told my wife, I said, I want to take them on a trip. I want to fly. Because I remember the first time I flew on a plane, it changed my life. And so I said, we're going to fly. We're going to take them. I'm not sure where, but we're going to figure it out. I called together a board of people and created the Teach from DeHart Foundation, a nonprofit to take students on trips across the country from my classroom. By 3 months down the road, a board was established, funding was pushed in, and we voted to fly to Atlanta, Georgia. And we got a chance to take 20 of my students, 18 of them never seeing an airport before. And we flew them to Atlanta, Georgia. And the best part was that I got a chance to take them to meet my mentor, Mr. Ron Clark of the Ron Clark Academy. He took them through a tour of his school, explained how to dream big and how that Mr. DeHart, you listen to Mr. DeHart, he's going to get you there. And we took this awesome photo with him as well. This all developed so quickly. These students were achieving high test scores. I was facing backlash in the classroom, but I didn't care because at the end of the day, it was for these students. And then I had some parents tell me, you should start a school. And I laughed. I said, there's no way I'm starting a school. 6 months later, I saw this building. When I laid eyes on this building, it was not in South Carolina where I was from. This building was in another state, in a place that no one knew who I was. But I knew this was it. I knew this was the building. And the beginnings of the Teach from DeHart Academy began right here in this town. But it wasn't just going to be a school. I knew at this point that it wouldn't be just a school that would educate students. It was going to educate their parents as well. We were going to bring them together and help build a community around education. Instead of giving them the fish, we were going to teach them to fish. And we were going to change a community for generations through our academy. When I announced that we were going to do this, I was told I was ridiculous. I was laughed at. I was scoffed at. I even had the principal of my school pull me into a meeting and tell me everything she thought I did wrong because I wasn't ready to start a school. Broke my heart. But walking in your calling, you've got to be willing to take those bullets every single day. As a man of faith, I know that when you're walking in your calling and you're walking in your destiny, that the devil's going to attack you from every point. And he did. But 6 months later, we had the building in our hands. We purchased it debt-free. We fundraised enough to buy the entire building and to create an educational system to begin the start of something beautiful. Within 6 months, we owned that building. As you can see, the photo on my right is, or photo on your left is me standing in front of the building. That was the first day I toured it. The photo of me signing is the day we bought it. And this building was created and this school was started. This idea was put out to create an exceptional education for students that include high social rigor. Our students could come into this conference and they would be able to speak to you on a moment's notice. They could deliver a speech, engage the crowd, organize trips around the world, employ educators that are world changers, that don't see school as a place to just sit and learn, but a place to engage the soul, to facilitate college scholarships, scholarships for students to travel to schools across the country for high school, and engage the parents in the community as well, providing workforce training and uplifting a community one family at a time. Here's our renderings of what the building will be. That DeHart Academy at the front, representing a walk into new change every day. They walk through that gate and they know today is a new day and that they are crazy enough to believe they can change the world. And everybody on this call has that calling, whether it's working in an organization or creating your own. We all have the calling to change the world, and you don't realize it, but you are changing the world every day by existing. Because without you, history would never be the same. I teach history for most of my students, for my classes, and I get to tell my students every day that you're a part of history. No, I'm not. I say, yes, you are. Because if you weren't here, history would change significantly. The world would change significantly. Every day at the Teach from DeHart Foundation and our soon to open academy, we're here to create opportunities, develop goals, and change lives. But that calling, those 3 pillars, is not just for me. It's for you guys as well. And I know you can achieve it. And I'm fighting through battles every day. But I look at these pillars and I remind myself of what we're here for, to change lives every single day. And at the end of the day, try to teach from DeHart. Thank you guys for the time to speak. I appreciate it.